Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I wanted to get serious for a moment and talk to you guys about a topic that's rarely discussed on my channel, and when it is, it's often filled with kind of vague information. But before I get into it, I just wanted to welcome those of you who are new here and take a moment to go on this little rant about why I'm even doing this video. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, I began working with exotic animals at around the age of 15, and eventually I ended up opening up my own shop for a few years before deciding that I no longer wanted to sell exotic pets to people in a retail setting like that. So the biggest reason why I got out of it was because I saw a lot of people who meant well, but did a lot of harm to animals because they refused to listen to me or do the proper research on an animal that they have adopted. I'll say this right here and now. I may not have all the knowledge in the world about these species that I've worked with, but experience sometimes is better than anything that you can read in a book or the internet. You can watch my videos all day and night until your brain is fried, but the reality is you're not really going to be fully ready for a pet like a fox if you've never owned one before until you actually take the time to meet with one and see what they're really like in person. And even then, their personalities are all different from each other, and each species is also different from one another, so they all have their special requirements. So why am I doing this video, do you ask? Well, because I love to keep an open mind when it comes to learning new things, and when somebody presents a new idea to me, I'm willing to take it into consideration if it makes sense to me. I know a lot of people have different morals and different ideas about how they should feed their animals, so this is just kind of a video based on my opinions that were formed over years of experience of working with animals like these. Anyone who works in the pet industry, I guarantee you can tell you that they've seen some horrible things. I'm not going to get into detail about all of the things that aren't based on the subject matter of this video, but when it comes to feeding, there are a ton of deficiencies that you'll see with exotic pets and other things that can happen to them if they don't get the proper nutrients. MBD is one of them. That's metabolic bone disease, and usually you'll see this in reptiles because they require vitamin D3 and calcium in their diets, and their bones will start to morph and become really fragile if they don't have it, and they won't form properly. It can cause other disabilities. So people think that you can just go out and buy a lizard and put a lamp over it and feed it some greens and you're good to go. The reality is that they need special lights that have UVB, UVA, which helps them convert some of the nutrients. And you also need to add certain additives in their food if they're not going to get the same variety of a diet that they would in the wild. So how does this pertain to a Fennec fox, and what's this stupid project you keep talking about? I'm part of a few different exotic pet groups, and a few of them are fox and Fennec fox specific groups. And I noticed that there's a lot of people that feed cat food to their Fennec foxes along with some fruits and veggies, and every once in a while maybe mix in some dog food. The problem with that is that's not the kind of diet that they would get in the wild, and overall it can create some really big problems for them. Before I get into specifics, I wanted to introduce you to someone else who you may have seen pop up on your suggested feed. Her channel is actually called Dubia Girl, and I've been following her for many years. She's the owner of what I think are actually some of the most adorable Dubia anteaters that you'll see on all of the interwebs. Yeah, I said interwebs, deal with it. Actually, I think her main anteater, Pua, is the one running everything around the house, but that can be left up to you guys to debate. Wait, Dubia pterodactyl? I have an idea for this. Great, now that I just spent an hour of my time on a joke, here's what Dubia Girl and I have been discussing. She's stating that many of the commonly found problems in Fennec foxes can be linked to chronic overconsumption of retinol, so it's strongly implied that it could be the root of all of these problems. Many Fennec foxes tend to get sick as they get older from a lack of taurine or too much retinol, and liver and kidney diseases can quickly arise. A lot more studying needs to be done, obviously, on this subject. This is really one of the first times I've even heard about it, but any of you out there who are vets or educated in this subject, topic, please feel free to chime in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. The idea is that there's certain foods that have way too much retinol, and instead of the body just getting rid of it, fennec foxes tend to store it as they get older, causing spinal lesions, liver and kidney damage, and more. I don't want to get too much into the technical specifics since it'll bore some of you, but I'll make sure to leave some of the links down below in the description, and always feel free to chime in to leave your thoughts. You will notice that in most of my videos, I tried to feed my pets live or at least close to what they would get out in the wild for food. Even the cats eat a variety of foods, and I never keep them on just one diet. I always try many different live and pre-killed meals for Scout, but the reality is that in the wild, they eat lizards, roaches, crickets, scorpions, birds, eggs. There's all sorts of different things that they'll find, but then there's a lot of stuff that they're being fed in captivity that they're not gonna find in the diet, and a very small percentage of their diet is actually vegetation. So they're more of carnivores than anything, and you can see this in my videos and how much he loves the bugs that I feed him and all the live meals like the mice that I fed him in the past, because he doesn't enjoy the fruits and veggies as much. So I'm kind of thankful that he's a picky eater. So really in the 9 years that I've had him, he's been eating the stuff that he's supposed to eat. Even if I've given him some stuff that may be questionable, he will decide he doesn't want it. Now looking back, it could be that he just knew that some of that stuff wouldn't make him feel great if he ate it, or he just maybe didn't like the flavor of them. I don't know, there's no way for me to tell, but I'm happy to hear that in the 9 years of caring for Scout that he's been pretty much fed everything that he's supposed to eat and everything that he would get naturally in the wild. In his earlier days, he used to fight me for things like pizza and KFC, but once we kind of cut back on eating unhealthy foods like that, then there's a lot less of it around for the animals to beg for. So now when they beg for something, it's usually a healthy treat, which isn't a big problem to give to them, which is awesome. So are you ready for it? Here's the whole point of why I even wanted to make this video. So you guys wanted to know a little bit about what was going on over here. If you remember, this was a 120-gallon tank that I mentioned in a previous video that I wanted to set up for these goldfish. And I wanted to make sure that they had a bigger tank. Since I unfortunately cracked the bottom of this tank to a state where it was unrepairable, I decided that instead of putting a bunch of water in there, I was just gonna fill it up with some dirt and set up a couple different breeding tanks. Now you're gonna ask why. Okay, so first of all, these breeding tanks are for roaches. Well, not just roaches. So here's the thing, crickets are actually too smelly, they make a lot of noise, they don't provide as much nutrients as roaches do, and roaches are a lot bigger and they're filled with a lot more of the good stuff. What I can do is just feed them any extra vitamins or vegetables or anything that I feel that my pets need to get, and then I can feed them off. Scout never really ate roaches. He was against it. Everybody, you want a roach? See if you like a roach? But I wanted to start doing a little bit of a breeding project here with my roaches so that I no longer have to purchase them anymore. So there have been a lot of thoughts going through my mind because most of these guys were pets to begin with. This is my makeshift clamp to hold this tank closed for now because we had an escapee once. So for example, come here. This is one of my hissing roaches. And this is one of the mamas. And I have another one in here that's also a female. They did drop some egg sacs and they weren't live, so it's probably because they were unfertilized and haven't been around a male for a long time. So I'm actually gonna be looking into getting some males. Let me turn this annoying heater off. So that's the hisser. And then I also have Dubia Roaches, which you just saw here. That's one of the males there, and then I've got some of the females inside. I'll show you in a minute. And I've got, I believe, the giant cave roaches in this one, but I only have a nymph left. And do you guys remember the old video where I was actually feeding my big, massive cave roach? I believe this is the same species. I had two of them living inside this tank, and once they both passed away, I noticed that there were some babies in there. So I'm going to assume that it was from that species. But the only reason why I'm unsure is because this substrate that's here was in an old tank. And I've had tanks that even after a couple years of substrate just sitting there in the tank not being used, I would find like one or two little baby roaches in there that somehow survived, and then they would breed and start another colony. So we move over to this tank here where you can see in the corner here kind of, I know it's a little blurry. These are some of my American cockroaches that I have from a colony. I got these guys because I actually used to have it. I used to have them living in here with the tarantula, and they got along, and the tarantula didn't eat them. So I ended up keeping them as pets. And now that I have like a little bit of a colony starting, because a couple of them did breed, I was thinking about seeing if Scout would eat them. During the time that Scout's been shedding, I've been actually getting little videos here and there of me attempting to feed him roaches and trying to see whether or not he would take them. And for years, he has always been so picky and he doesn't eat them. And one of the things that Tamandua Girl had recommended to me was to not leave his food in with him in his room and just kind of fast him for a little bit till he's hungry, and then when he's hungry, try it again. And I did, and here's what happened. Hey buddy, you want to try a cockroach and see if you'll eat it? Yay, that was the first time he ate a roach. Don't mind his coat, he's just losing his winter coat. So he's got his big fluff that he's getting rid of so that he can get his short fur for the summer back in. Was that yummy, buddy? I got a whole cage full of them for you. So I got a little excited and I started feeding off way too many of my larger breeder roaches to Scout. Here, Scout. I brought the whole thing up for you if you want to check it out. I'm so glad he's taking these. These are so much better for him than feeding him mice. That's it, buddy. We gotta save the rest for later. He's like, no, I want him now. Alright, here, you can have that one. There's one right there. Let's see if I can move some of these guys. Yeah, you can see them here. So the ones without the wings that you see with the black on them, those are the females. So this one right here is actually the female Dubia Roach. This one here is a nymph that has not reached adult age yet, so I don't know if that one's a boy or a girl. And then these other ones here that you see with the wings, these guys are the males. Now, I've had these guys for a long time. I never really tried to feed them to Scout because I figured, you know, he didn't really want to eat them anyway, but one day I would try it again, and in the meantime, I would just keep these guys as pets. They didn't really breed because I forgot that one of the most important things to get these guys to breed is you got to keep them in the right temperatures. So I'm going to do a video about these different species of roaches and how to care for them and how to breed them. I'm going to start a new colony of the Dubia roaches and the hisser roaches. And I know that roaches are like one of those things that you guys are probably just all sitting back there going, ew, this is disgusting. But the reality of it is, if you're going to keep an animal that eats a diet like this, it is important for you to breed their food if you want to save some money. I mean, if you have the money to go out and buy roaches every day for them and worms and all that stuff, by all means, go ahead. But it ends up costing a lot of money. The Dubia roaches can go up to 50 to 75 cents a piece. The big cave roaches can go to $1.50 to $4 a piece. These guys, the Madagascar hissing cockroaches, they can sometimes go for over $1 a piece as well, depending on where you're getting from. The American roaches, of course, nobody really sells them because they're really fast moving and they don't provide as much nutrient as these other guys do. So it's actually not really that great to keep those, but I caught those wild and I kept them as pets and they're still doing really good. So I figured, why not try it? If Scout decides to eat it when I have too many, at least I know how I can get rid of some. And I know that's very harsh for me to say, but I guarantee that this is going to be a lot easier for people to watch him eating roaches than it would be for him to be eating mice or lizards, which they also eat in the wild. Over here, I've got the mealworms that were sent to me in a previous video as a gift for Scout. So what I did was I set up 3 different setups for the mealworms. I've been separating out the different sizes and the different stages of life as it comes along, and I'll do a whole video on that as well for those of you who are interested. Now, the thing is that a lot of people are always commenting on my videos telling me that they want a Fennec fox as a pet, but they don't think about all these other things that I do that I don't really talk about that are beneficial to him, which includes not only just making sure that they have the right food, but researching things constantly to find out if there's any new information that ever comes out about things that you need to know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to hit that little bell button next to the subscribe so you can get notified whenever I upload these new videos. And I was thinking about doing a video on each one of these species and telling you guys how to care for them, what they require, how to get them to breed, and everything else. And we'll get into a little more technical detail about that. And then once we start a colony, maybe you guys can help me name some of the adults and we can put little markings on them so we know who's who. And then we can keep an eye on them and see how they're doing and go from there. And if you guys want to hear more about some of the things that you don't normally get to hear about when it comes to owning pets like these, let me know and I'll go ahead and do videos on that as well.